Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and it has been a while. I honestly don't remember the last time that I sat down to film. It has been ages. Also in a bit of a booktube watching slump, a bit of a reading slump, and I've just kind of been all over the place. A lot has been happening, so booktube and filming and such just hasn't been my priority lately, which sucks and is really sad, but I'm here today to kind of give you a little update on where I've been, what is happening now, and some of the things that I have recently read. So if you don't know, in 2 weeks from today, when I'm posting this, it's my last day in Minnesota. Adam and I are moving back home to the New England area. We don't really have any jobs lined up. We don't have like a place of our own to live. We'll be crashing at his family's house in Maine, and we are just sort of like doing it, going for it, hoping things all work out, and we're really excited. We just felt like we wanted to be closer to home, closer to family, and we're also getting married in Maine in October, so the final stages of wedding planning will be a lot easier if we are closer. It's a very bittersweet time. I adore Minnesota. I get really emotional thinking about leaving, not just like the people, but just the state, our apartment, the place and the neighborhood that we live. Like, there's so much about Minnesota that I love, but all the good doesn't outweigh the fact that we live far away from our families and have to fly home or spend two days in a car, and a lot of money to get home, usually only twice a year, maybe 3 times. So it just felt right. We decided to give ourselves a move date of, May 30th. So we will be in the New England Northeast area just in time for BookCon, so I will be heading down to New York City. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. I also just finished up at my job. So the 10th was my last day at my job, and now I am sort of just like, unemployed, trying to figure out how to pack up all the things that we own, trying to get ourselves organized, and just kind of give myself a break and a breather to enjoy Minnesota for the last couple weeks that I'm here, and also hopefully read a lot. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm hoping that with this newfound free time and without the stress of like finishing up a job and doing everything else, I can devote more time to filming and reading, and just kind of like getting back into the groove of things. Oh, I should also mention, in April, we went to Spain for about a week, and that was just like a lot going on, prepping to go on vacation for however many days it was, being away, spending time with family, and then just like reacclimating ourselves. And it was 2 weeks before I left my job, so like that was also kind of a chaotic time. With all that said, I wanted to update you and just like give you a little insight into where I've been, and now I figured let's dive into some of the books that I have read recently. So really, this is just an April wrap-up because I didn't do an April wrap-up. You've heard about the books that I read in March already. That was the last video that I filmed and posted, so I figured I'd just dive into, books I read in April. There were 4. I think part of it is I haven't been listening to as many audiobooks. I'm trying to change that and do that while I'm, cleaning or running around, doing other tasks, and I'm sure we'll listen to at least one while we are driving back to New England. The first book that I finished in April was actually sort of like a buddy read with Adam and his best friend Jordan, and we just decided that, we all really enjoy reading and we wanted to read something together, and then we FaceTimed and talked about it, and that book was Life of Pi by Yann Martel. So Adam and I had both seen the movie for this, whereas Jordan hadn't, and there's like a pretty big twist at the end that we knew and Jordan didn't, so that was kind of interesting. But this is a story of our main character, whose name is Pi, and he and his family own a zoo in India, and his dad decides to move the family to America, and sells all of the zoo animals. Some of them are traveling with them to North America, so the family loads up into essentially like a cargo ship with a whole bunch of other like people and cargo and animals. Partway through their trip, they get shipwrecked, and Pi finds himself in a lifeboat with a tiger, a hyena, and an orangutan. Oh, and a zebra. And so it kind of like follows his story in the lifeboat, like trying to fight for his life, essentially. I don't even know how to classify this book. It deals a lot with just like reflection, spirituality, and I guess kind of just getting to know yourself. It's very odd, and it can get very rambly, and I gotta be honest, I didn't love it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think we all just kind of agreed that it was too like cerebral almost. It was like, I don't know how to describe this book, and it was also now more than a month ago that I finished it, but I don't know, I think this worked way better for me in film format rather than book. It's not super fast paced, not a lot happens, and so much of what's described is just like really minute details that I don't like totally, not that I don't care about, but it's not the interesting aspects of being stuck on a lifeboat with a tiger and other animals. I don't know, overall I was disappointed by this book. I gave it 3 stars, but it was really fun to have this discussion, especially once Jordan like got to the twist and reacted in a group text. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I think we were all just a little let down, but that won't stop us from picking another book sometime soon and continuing with that later. Next up was an audiobook, and I listened to If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, which I really enjoyed. I have heard this compared to like a love letter to Shakespeare, essentially. And I think that is the perfect way to describe this book. This follows a group of students at a very prestigious / pretentious like theater conservatory program in, I want to say like outside of Chicago, and they're in their theater program. They do like only Shakespeare. It's very specific and weird, but also super cool because the author has a degree in like Shakespearean studies or something. So like she knows her shit, and she wrote this book super well because of it. But this eventually turns into a murder mystery when one of the 7 students and one of the people in this group of friends is found dead, and it's kind of like whodunit sort of deal with lots of elements of theater and Shakespeare thrown into the storytelling. I will kind of leave it at that. I think this book is so smart. I think it is incredibly unique. Like, I've never read a book that's quite like this, although I've heard it compared to The Secret History by Donna Tartt multiple times. A lot of it was so unexpected, but also just made complete sense. So I really liked the clearly very skilled foreshadowing and outlining and just leading us to the answer without making it incredibly obvious. I overall gave this 4 or 4.5 stars. The audiobook was also really good, and the ending, I literally gasped out loud as I was like driving home. It was shocking, but so good. I highly recommend the audiobook and this book in general. It's definitely one that surprised me, took me by surprise. I didn't anticipate loving it as much as I did, but I really did. Next up, I read while I was on vacation, An Anonymous Girl by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen. This is another like domestic / psychological thriller by this author duo. I read their debut novel together, The Wife Between Us, a couple months ago and enjoyed it, and at the end of that book, I was left a little bit disappointed, and I felt similarly about this one. I will say I was sucked in. I could not put this down. I kept getting interrupted as I was like, I don't know, maybe like this far from the end. I was like trying to finish it and kept getting interrupted, and it was driving me absolutely bananas, but I was really disappointed by the ending. I just didn't think it was that satisfying. I don't know. This book is very different than The Wife Between Us, but also has some like similar themes and moods, I guess. I think the writing in this one felt a little bit cleaner and more polished. I think it was clear that they like knew how to write together a little bit better this time around. In their debut book, I was like really shocked by the twist, whereas this one I wasn't so much. Like, I don't think there was ever a moment that I was like, absolutely stunned, which isn't bad, but I was kind of expecting that, and so I was a little bummed that that didn't ever happen. I just felt like the motivations of the characters didn't line up with what the ending was. Obviously, I'm not going to say any spoilers. I'm going to leave it at that. I read most of these books a while ago, so I don't have that much to say at this point, but I liked this one better than The Wife Between Us, but I still only gave it like 3.5, 4 stars. And finally, I read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which was gifted to me by Becca from Becca Iris Ruiz, and I think this is like a perfect vacation novel. This is the third Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I have read, probably my second favorite, behind Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and just before Maybe in Another Life. This is a story of Emma Blair, which is very odd because that is my great-great-grandmother's name. She falls in love with this boy in high school. They grow up, spend a decade together, get married, and then on their first anniversary, Jesse goes missing and is presumed dead. So obviously this throws Emma into kind of like a bout of depression and just like not really knowing who she is anymore, and she kind of reevaluates her life and makes some changes, moves back home to be closer with family, and just finds herself in a life and a world that she wouldn't have expected. And part of that is connecting with an old high school friend and falling in love with him. And then, this is not a spoiler, but on the back, it says on the back, right after they get engaged, Jesse is found and he's alive and he comes home, and it's then kind of the story of what will this reunion be. They are obviously both two very different people now, and it's a really interesting premise for a book, and I think the characters felt very, very well developed, I thought. My only complaint is that it got really repetitive towards the ending, and it just sort of started getting on my nerves, but I think both love stories were very sweet, and I felt them very deeply, and it was so interesting because I didn't know like what I was rooting for or who I was rooting for initially, but I think it was really well done, and I love Taylor Jenkins Reid as an author and a person, and I sincerely enjoyed this. Can't wait to read more of her books. This was a great way to end the month. So that's it. That's everything that I have read recently. That's a little update on where I've been, what my life is like. I am currently doing a bit of a vlog style video that I hope to get up soon. I need to get going with it, but stay tuned for that, and then let me know if there are other videos that you would like to see related to moving. I know that I have to unhaul a bunch of books because I can't bring, this is just like one of my shelves. This is probably one of the last few videos filmed in front of this, which is really sad, but yeah, I need to unhaul some books. I'm gonna obviously have to pack them all up. If you would like to see videos about either of those, either separately or together, let me know in the comments below. You can also find the links to all my social media accounts in the description box, so be sure to connect with me there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my next video. But until then, happy reading. Bye.